There was a moment in American history when capitalism didn't just feel unfair, it felt dangerous. The country was exploding with wealth, yet most Americans were sinking. Inequality wasn't a gap, it was a fault line, and the nation was standing directly on top of it. Because when wealth rises faster than society can hold it, the system doesn't bend, it snaps. This is the story of the moment America came closest to breaking, and how against all odds it rebuilt capitalism before capitalism destroyed the country. Welcome to the financial story, where money, power, and history collide. And nothing is ever as simple as it looks. To understand how a nation can lose control of its own economy, you have to return to the late 1800s, a time of astonishing invention, rapid growth, and almost no rules. Railroads stitched the continent together. Steel transformed skylines. Oil illuminated the world. Finance fueled everything. It looked like progress, as it felt like prosperity. But underneath the glitter of the Gilded Age was an expanding darkness. The wealth being created didn't spread. It pooled. In the hands of a few men who built private empires so large they overshadowed the nation itself. John D. Rockefeller controlled nearly every drop of oil. J.P. Morgan could move the entire economy with a single decision. Andrew Carnegie, Jay Gould, Cornelius Vanderbilt, each one reshaped an industry by eliminating anyone who stood in their way. Competition wasn't something you won, it was something you erased. While the titans consolidated power, the working class lived a reality that feels almost dystopian today. 12 to 14-hour workdays were common. Mines collapsed. Factories burned. Machinery tore apart workers faster than hospitals could treat them. Children, not teenagers, but 8 and 9-year-olds, labored on assembly lines and in textile mills. There were no safety regulations, no unemployment insurance, no minimum wage. If you fell behind, the system didn't help you. It replaced you. The economy grew, but it grew by extracting everything it could from those who had the least power to resist. Even politics seemed captive. Senators were appointed through backroom deals. Newspapers were bought by industrial trusts to control public opinion. Courts sided with corporations in case after case, treating regulation as an attack on freedom and monopoly as a sign of national strength. The United States was becoming wealthy, but it was also becoming unstable, and instability rarely stays quiet. In 1873, a major bank collapsed, triggering a depression so severe it lasted 6 years. Railroads failed, factories closed, unemployment surged. The pattern repeated in 1893 when hundreds of banks disappeared almost overnight. Workers responded with massive strikes. Militia units and federal troops were deployed. Cities turned into battlegrounds. These weren't just financial events, they were symptoms. Signs that a system built on imbalance eventually reaches a breaking point. But here's the twist in American history. Instead of collapsing, the country decided to push back. Not suddenly, not cleanly, but steadily, and in a way that would reshape capitalism itself. The first breakthrough came in 1890 with the Sherman Antitrust Act. It was vague, it was weak, courts barely used it, but its symbolic power was enormous. For the first time, America declared that the economy was not the private domain of a handful of men. It belonged to the public, and the public had the right to set boundaries. Then came a different kind of army, journalists. Ida Tarbell dissected the secretive tactics of Standard Oil. Upton Sinclair exposed the horrors of industrial labor. Lincoln Steffens revealed corruption in city governments. These muckrakers didn't write for academics. They wrote for ordinary people, and they changed how ordinary people understood the system around them. The more Americans saw, the more they demanded action. And that action found its champion in Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt was a burst of energy, dramatic, confrontational, and relentless. He believed big business had a place in America, but he also believed that no private empire should be powerful enough to threaten the republic itself. So, he went to war. He challenged the Northern Securities Railroad Trust. He strengthened federal oversight of railroads. He pushed for food safety laws, environmental conservation, and worker protections. He didn't destroy capitalism, he disciplined it. But the real turning point came in 1907. A moment so critical, most Americans today have never heard of it. A banking panic froze the financial system. Depositors lined up outside collapsing institutions. Businesses couldn't access credit. The economy was hours away from total paralysis. And who saved it? Not the White House, not Congress, not any public institution. It was J.P. Morgan, a private banker, who locked dozens of financiers in his library and forced them to coordinate a rescue. It worked. The nation survived. But it also terrified Americans. No democracy can tolerate a single private citizen wielding that much power over the national economy. And so in 1913, the United States created the Federal Reserve, a central bank designed not as a luxury, but as protection against concentrated financial power. Reforms expanded beyond finance. Child labor laws began to remove children from factories. States created early workers' compensation systems. Safety standards emerged. Labor movements pushed toward the 8-hour workday. And with the 16th Amendment, the federal income tax, the government gained a structural tool to contain oligarchic wealth. For a moment, it worked. America didn't dismantle capitalism. It tamed it. It forced it to serve the many, not just the few. But time has a way of eroding even the strongest reforms. As prosperity returned, memories faded. Regulations weakened. Antitrust enforcement declined. Financial markets deregulated. Corporate mergers expanded. Tax rates on the wealthy plunged. Unions weakened dramatically. And campaign finance rules eroded, pulling private money deeper into public institutions. Bit by bit, the guardrails that saved the system in the early 1900s began to fall away. Today, the numbers tell a familiar story. The top 1% now holds nearly 40% of national wealth, a level approaching the original Gilded Age. The bottom half of the country owns just a few percent. A handful of families gain nearly $1 trillion in a single year. Inequality isn't just rising, it's returning to the same levels that once pushed the country to the edge. Labor shows the same pattern. Wages stagnate. Healthcare and housing become unaffordable. Millions bounce between unstable jobs without benefits. Some states even loosen child labor protections, echoing conditions from the era reformers fought to end. The industries changed, the technology changed, but the pressure feels eerily familiar. And just as before, corporate power reorganized itself into new forms. Standard Oil became big tech. Railroad trusts became global logistics networks. Banks became multinational institutions with influence that spans continents. The architecture is different. The outcome is the same. Concentrated power, fragile workers, a political system struggling to keep up. So here we are, again, standing at the threshold of a choice. Do we allow inequality to grow until the system bends beyond repair? Or do we do what Americans did a century ago? Rewrite the rules before the rules break the country. Because that is the real lesson of the progressive era. Capitalism did not save itself. People saved it by demanding fairness, by exposing abuse, by pushing leaders to act, by rebuilding the system piece by piece. And those levers still exist today. Antitrust law still exists. Labor protections still exist. Financial regulation still exists. The tools are there, waiting for the will to use them. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes with intention. The last time inequality looked like this, America didn't collapse. It transformed. It reimagined the rules. It forced capitalism to serve the many instead of the few. That wasn't destiny. It was choice. And the choices we make today will determine whether history becomes a warning or a roadmap. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.